Hey everyone, so I hope you're having a great weekend. Today I'm going to bring you my Rift of Chaos teams. So once you get 3 of these dungeons unlocked to stage 16, Rift of Chaos will then open. I know a lot of people get frustrated with needing 3 stage 16s unlocked, but trust me, it's for the best, and be careful what you wish for because this content is I don't have a very positive feeling towards this content, but it is what it is. The slog to get there was interesting, and then there was multiple nerfs or whatever. So each stage has their own boss. There's 3 different bosses: a earth, a water, and a fire one. I have made specific videos just on the mechanics of these bosses. So if you want, you can go check those out. And then once you unlock stage 12 of all of them, you open up what they are calling Rift of Chaos. And there's 3 stages. And in these Rifts of Chaos, you fight the boss back to back to back, and you need to set up 3 teams. The reason why this is kind of a bummer is from stages 1 to 12 on each individual one, you can use the same champions. So Jocasta is a very popular champion for Earth Titan and then also Water Titan. But if you're using Jocasta in your Fire or in your Earth Titan team and your Water team, you won't be able to do that once you hit the Rift of Chaos stages. So you need, 12 unique champions. On top of that, once you unlock Rift of Chaos, you can put in some heroes in here to get additional buffs. So light and dark characters give you crit damage. The legendaries and stuff, this is where whales have a huge advantage, which is a bit disheartening, but I guess it is what it is. But the attack, defense, and health from the RGBs is nice. So what a lot of people will say is what you should do is you should just manual stage 12. Like if you're stuck on stage 11 and you just need to unlock stage 12 on the last stage of a specific boss, you should do that, because once you unlocked Rift of Chaos 1, Rift of Chaos 1 is actually easier than stage 12 of each individual level, other than the fact that you can't use the same heroes. But the gear requirements are less because you have the buffs from this Celestial Spire, where you get the additional attack, defense, and health, and crit damage. It makes a huge boost. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my Rift of Chaos 2 team. I have not beaten Rift of Chaos 3. I just don't care enough, to be honest. And the problem is your rewards here. So you can still get rare drops in Rift of Chaos 3. I thought it was a possibility to get rid of these blue relics with Rift of Chaos 3, but you can still get them, so I don't care. That's why I'm just farming stage 2. All right, so that's a little background into Rift of Chaos. These are my teams. What we'll do is we'll run through the battle, and I will bring up the individual characters' stats as we're talking about them. Okay? So that's what we'll do. We'll start the run, and then we'll bring up the individual characters. I'll talk about some replacements and things like that, and maybe at the end of the video I can talk about different teams as well. So let's get started. Okay, so for our first team, this is Earth Titan. So we are using the Invincible strategy. There's 2 or 3 different strategies. The Invincible one entails Jocasta, where this boss ends up doing a really big nuke at the beginning, his first turn, and then he does it every 3 turns, I believe. So you'll see a lot of people suggest Jocasta, but with her abilities on 100% cooldown, because it takes her to a 3-turn cooldown, which allows her to time with this Earth Titan's big nuke. Okay, So Jocasta is the key to the invincible strategy. There are other replacements in Punk and Celestial Cane, and I can talk about that a little bit later, maybe at the end of the video. We're using Brand as our tank. So he is the person that is taking that single target hit. This is important for a couple reasons. One, he is a really high health hero, doesn't need to be booked. You need to have him your highest health over Jocasta because he targets the highest health hero, and you don't want Jocasta to take the hit because she takes more hits, takes more damage because she is not a positive affinity. So you want Brandon there for the highest health, and you need him to be at a specific amount of resistance so he can avoid the stun. This is really important because if he's stunned, the boss will take 2 hits. Not good. Brand is also in there to pair nicely with Gavin. I'm using Gavin in here over Rosalie. Rosalie is a replacement for Gavin, but Gavin's run is a lot faster. We're also using Flarence in here to do bonus attacks and give a shield. So she's healing, backup Brand. She's putting shields on everyone on top of Brand's shield. And it pairs nicely with Gavin's passive, or his trait, that allows him to ignore a lot more defense, which makes these rounds a lot smoother. You have to kill the boss around 15 rounds, or he's just going to one-shot everybody. And then Radiant Pixie is in here, to give Gavin additional buffs and then give him bonus attacks. So Radiant Pixie is really great for that, as well as putting up counterattack. And as most of us know, the Earth boss has 0 defense whenever he uses an attack. So he converts all of his defense into attack to then attack your team. And that's whenever you counterattack while he has 0 defense. As soon as his turn's over, the defense comes back onto him. That's why counterattacks do so much damage. That's why Rosalie is really good. That's why Gavin's really good. So this is this specific run. There's plenty of replacements. I think I'll just talk about them all at the end of the run, once we're actually going through the specific teams, because it's much easier to kind of mix and match the heroes for each individual Titan. So we'll do that, but this is my individual run. These are the stats of all the heroes. I'll put those up on the screen now, and we'll move on to our water run. So that's the Earth run. So for our water run, Ackerly makes this extremely easy. We're using Foodie here as well to give additional damage reduction with those blocks. That's the main purpose, as well as removing debuffs to Ackerly, who will actually get frozen. So you're using just all of the poison mechanic here. You'll see it actually ramps up really quickly. We're using Aaron in here. This is an Aaron strategy just to maximize the speed on this. There are other options as well, especially if you don't have Ackerly or A5 Aaron. There's other ways to run this composition. And again, we can talk about that at the end of today's video. But all you're doing is staying alive here until Ackerly ends up ramping up enough to get 99 stacks of poison, which is where this health bar will just start melting away. And as you see here, Foodie at the beginning of the turn, took away that frozen from your Ackerly so he can keep putting up poisons. And that's all this team is. So we're going to let this run out. I'll put up the stats of the guys right now, so you can see if you want to pause the video, and you'll just see this health bar will start melting away. So it's at ×7 right now. We just got the poisons up to 80, and now it just completely, dissolves. So this is kind of the timing you need, because you'll see the next AoE that this boss does takes almost everyone out except a couple heroes. The block from the Foodie also helps your team survive this last AoE nuke before the health bar completely goes away. So you'll see here, basically, everyone kind of dies, especially if they didn't have the block. So the fire boss is probably the one that requires the most specific heroes. I don't know of many other RGB teams outside of this one, other than like an A5 fully booked Haruna, which stinks. But this team is utilizing Poros to maximize the damage out of your Bocce, who ignores 100% defense when he uses his roller bomb, which is every turn. You have Badmar in here to make sure that your team stays healthy whenever the boss does his AoEs. He also brings no positive effects to keep this crit rate buff off of the boss, so he'll remove that and then he steals it, so he does a little bit of bonus damage. He also brings defense down 2, which helps Bocce on his initial attack before he's ignoring defense 100% on his roller bomb. And then Atara brings up attack down 2, which helps your Badmar survive the single target hit that he just did right there. And then Atara also extends buffs. So whenever he puts up the defense down 2, or whenever Atara puts up the attack down 2, her next attack can actually extend those debuffs. And then the Poros, like I said, increases damage to enemies that are below 50% health by 30%, just raw damage, and then also puts up the increased damage taken too, which is really good damage multiplier, because Bocce's already ignoring defense 100%, so whenever he's also just doing increased damage by an additional 50%, it really helps. And then Savannah is in there to just be fodder for Bocce. He's your only damage dealer. You just stack her with a bunch of attack, and then Bocce gets her attack. So whenever he's ignoring 100% defense, he's just doing a lot of damage. So at 13% here, we'll let this finish out. I'll put up the stats of the heroes right now, so you guys can look at those while the rest of the round is going on. And then we'll finish this up, and then we'll talk about some replacements, at least for the lower levels, Rift of Chaos 1, and then the individual stages. I think we can go through replacements. So yep, like I said, we'll just keep the gear and all that stuff up right now, and we'll then move on to the replacements here in one more turn. All right, so Bocce finishing off the boss, the Divine Robe. And we got a rare relic, which stinks, and it's flat. So I think tomorrow's video we'll be talking about relics, the things to look out for with your substats, which substats are good in PvE, PvP, and then which substats are good in Rift in dungeons. So we will be talking about that tomorrow. But for now, let's jump back into the individual stages and talk about the teams that you could, potentially have as replacements. All right, so for Earth Titan, what you have is 4 teams, okay? 2 are invincible teams, and then 2 are like debuff damage reduction teams. All right, so what the invincible teams look like is the one that I just showed you, right? With an invincible team like this, Jocasta is really important for one of the teams. The replacements that you can use for this team is somebody like a Rosalie, but her speed needs to be above 225. That is the minimum that you need for stage 12 all the way up through Rift of Chaos 1, 2, and 3. The speed requirements stop after stage 12. Okay, so you can use Rosalie as your damage dealer. You can use Gavin. You can also use Flaming Mila. Flaming Mila is the best option for Earth Titan, 100%. She outscales Gavin, she outscales Rosalie, and I don't know if she outscales Arlo, which is another guy that we're going to be talking about. But anyway, so in those positions, you can use Arlo, Flaming Mila, Rosalie, or Gavin. But Gavin does take some build around. I used him because you saw all of the positive effects that my team actually put on Gavin. And that's why he was doing so much damage. Okay, but the speed requirements need to be above 225. So that's who you can use in that spot. So if you're not using Gavin, you don't really need Flarence, and you don't really need Radiant Pixie, but you can use someone like Zitlin. Zitlin is a nice option. And then on top of that, you can use heroes like... So you can even use heroes like Elise. So Elise has true health damage, which the Earth Titan, Water Titan, Fire Titan are not immune to. Oh, actually, the Fire Titan is immune to it. But the Earth Titan and the Water Titan are not. So if you want to use 2 damage dealers, Elise also counterattacks whenever she gets hit by an AoE. So she's profiting from the boss also not having defense. So a team like this is also viable. So in regards to the counterattack team, so if you're using somebody like Punk and C. Kane, so Celestial Kane and Punk are the other options for the Invincible team. All right, so what Punk does, Punk has an AoE ability that reduces the cooldown of all team members' AoE effects, okay? And Celestial Kane, his Invincible that he gives to the entire team is actually an AoE attack, so it counts as an AoE ability. That's why this team composition works, even though this is on a 4-turn cooldown. With Punk reducing this cooldown, it turns into a 3-turn AoE, similar to Jocasta. So that's why this composition works. If you do that, you do need enough healing. So that is something to mention. You'll need to build these heroes in like Revival set, high health. Your Rosalie should be fine with the damage mitigation from the Zitlin heals and then the Bran damage mitigation. So this is another team that you can use all the way up to Rift of Chaos 2. Okay? Now, the other types of compositions that there are deal with negative effects. So this boss deals less damage the more negative effects he has on himself. But those negative effects are harder to apply to him because with each negative effect that he has on him, his resistance goes up. So the stat requirements are really tough, right? But you do have a hero in the game named Arlo. So if you look at Arlo's trait, Arlo has a trait, whenever it's ascended, he's A5. This is the bummer with this team comp, is when an ally applies Ignite in their own turn, the effect cannot be resisted. So when he's A5, he ignores resistance for the rest of the people that are applying Ignites. So they don't need focus whenever Arlo is A5. So that means that you can use heroes like Bachelard, who puts up 4 Ignites on his ultimate ability. He also puts up Ignites on his basic ability, so he can stack Ignites a lot. So with each negative effect on the boss, he's dealing 5% less damage, so you can really mitigate your damage with Arlo at A5, utilize Ignite. So just, a random team composition is, something like Bachelard, Arlo. Matson is really good in this spot because he brings two things. He brings Ignite on his basic ability. He also brings Resistance down and Ignite on his special. And he brings Ignite and Vampiric Touch, which heals your team members every time that they do a lot of damage. So Mattson is really good in this composition as well. Again, along with Brand, if I can find him. Brand, and then, you can use somebody like Zitlin again. So this team composition, you're dealing with reduced damage reduction, so you don't need the Invincible, right? This is a really cool composition, but it does require an Arlo at A5, which is a bummer. But it does take away the need for somebody like a Jocasta fully booked. So if you're more into like PvE and you want to use Arlo in like Guild versus Environment and things like that, this is a really nice composition because I'm pretty sure he's the only one that needs to be booked in A5. So even all the way up to Rift of Chaos 3. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know if that's true. So maybe not. Other replacements for Mattson are like Maeve and things like that. So that is one area with damage reduction. One is through Ignites. And then the other one, I don't know if enough people have used her or not. Let's see if she's in here. Yes, so Flaming Mila. Flaming Mila is your go-to person. I think she's better than Arlo. I think she's better than Gavin, Rosalie. This composition is just so fast. She does so much damage, and on top of that, I wish I could have showed you her here, but we'll show you in the index. When a team member is attacked by a wood enemy, it applies damage down 2, and it can't be resisted. So she doesn't need to be built with focus. 50% less damage dealt just baseline is insane, right? You don't need any kind of Ignite teams or anything like that. She's just reducing the damage, to your team by 50% with her just being in there. Now, I think she does need to be booked, especially for her damage output, at least on the higher stages. Stage 12, she might not even need booked, or stage 11. But her composition, as you just saw there, is another way, to deal with the Rift of Chaos Earth boss. Okay? So those are the teams there. Now, these teams are a little more limited. So if you have Ackerly, you can go a route like this, especially with like A5 Aaron. This is a much quicker kind of team where you don't need a whole lot of sustain. It's just, you're killing the boss so quickly with those poisons that you just need enough sustain to survive, along with the foodie blocks and the heals. So this team is pretty straightforward in my opinion. Now, if you don't have Aaron, you can bring in somebody like Jocasta to heal your team up, keep you surviving from those AoE damages, and have her be the tank. So she's really good in this space. The thing is, most people don't use her here because they need her in Earth Titan. So this is one option. The other options, if you don't have Ackerly, are much more stat dependent, and then they also require 2 different heroes. So a team that was really popular that I used to use was a team like Shane, Jocasta. You'd have someone like Hyunwoo and Elise being your damage dealers, right? So you'd have Hyunwoo and Elise, and then you would bring in one or two people. You'd either bring in Foodie, or you'd bring in Seema. So Foodie and Seema have unique effects in the fact that they can return negative debuffs, so negative effects, back onto a person that put it. So this boss has a mechanic where he returns Frozen Seal. It's a unique mechanic to him where each Frozen Seal that you have on you, and there's 3 stacks of it, reduce the damage that you do by like 30% per stack. But you can reflect that back onto the boss. But when you reflect it back onto the boss, his damage reduction is only reduced by 15% per stack. Okay? But it's still enough for you to survive and just kill the boss with enough damage from Hyunwoo and Elise. So like I mentioned in Earth Titan, Elise does do true damage to this boss, which really melts his health bar. Hyunwoo is just a fantastic damage dealer. These heroes, at least the Hyunwoo, if you're going to use him for damage, does need to be booked just to kill the boss quick enough. The other issue with this team composition is you need enough focus to reflect that Frozen Seal debuff back onto the boss. And then you also need enough resistance on specific heroes to make sure that they don't get frozen, because you need them every single turn. All of your damage output matters. So that's the only bummer with that team. You need like 220 resist. I think you need like 250 if you're using Foodie instead of Seema, because it's not positive affinity. But this team will work if you don't have Ackerly. But again, it's not going to work in the Rift of Chaos stages because, well, if you need to use Jocasta in 2 teams. So you need to pick where you're going to use your Jocasta. So teams like this are viable for sure. Let's see what other formations that they have. So, you know, it's a lot of Ackerly teams. More Ackerly. This is the Twins. I'm not even going to talk about that stuff. More Ackerly. More Twins. Ackerly. So this is kind of a nice team. You're just using a lot of damage out of Hyunwoo. You're returning the Frozen Seal most likely. You're here they're probably using this for the freeze. This is a viable team. People are using Muriel to have the positive effects. So if you have more than 3 positive effects on your team, I believe, or 3, you won't get frozen from the boss. That's his unique mechanic. So this is another nice team, utilizing Jocasta and Rachel, putting up positive effects along with the Muriel. So there's definitely some options out there, but I just described 2 of them for you. So this boss, right? In order to beat stage 12, so whenever Poros was not available to this account, or I actually took over someone's account and beat it for them, I used Haruna. So Haruna, Bachi, Savannah, Badmar, and Atara can beat this stage. I think, like, the workarounds to try and beat this boss aren't worth it. I think you really need to bite the bullet if you're trying to progress in your account and use those hero selector matrices that you get. You know, if you're free to play, you can get enough, I think, 2 months or 3 months by saving up badges, and you probably bite the bullet with Badmar. You know, he's really good in all of the upper stages of the dungeons, and he fills like 3 roles in this boss. But yeah, I don't even know if I want to show you other teams, because I think the gear requirements are going to be insane, and almost all of them are just utilizing, you know, the same kind of people. So I guess if you don't have Poros, you can replace Zitlin to deal enough damage there. You know, if you have the Twins and Oderic or whatever, you know, that's possible. This is kind of a cool composition. This light twin is really good here, but it's also requiring a debuff from Ebon Shade. And then also Huntress Freya has it called Stagnation, where people won't get bonus turns. So you use the Light Twin to use her ultimate. So Haruna can use her ultimate twice in a row, which is really cool. And then the Ebon Shade actually stops the boss from getting a bonus turn because he gets rage if he's attacked too much. So that's pretty cool. Oh, someone's using Gavin. That's also pretty neat. I don't know where the positive effects or anything like that come from. Maybe it's an A5 Gavin. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to show you my teams. I wanted to show you the gear associated with it, and then maybe some options here and there. Something to strive for, I guess. Maybe if you guys have those heroes, you can build those exact teams. But yeah, that's basically all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you.